it's Rachel. This is a photo of me and my dad, some years ago when we were all a lot younger. Dad used to tell us a joke growing up. It wasn't very funny, but he told it a lot. He was a Swedish man. The joke goes like this. There's a Finn and a Swede sitting in the forest. The Swede says, and they're having some schnapps, and the Swede says to the Finn, "Skål." And the Finn says, "Are we going to talk or are we going to drink?" As I said, it's not a very funny joke. But unbeknownst to me, it did plant a seed that has now become a bit of an obsession, and that's to do with the Nordic position of solitude and silence. In Sweden and in all of the Nordic countries, they share a tradition called, in Swedish, I know, allemansrätt, which gives you the legal right to roam across the land, to camp, to pick berries, create your own resources, regardless of ownership. This could be a photo of my sister and I when we were little, but it's not. It's from Google. But it is, I think it goes to the core of what Nordic culture is about. It celebrates and considers sort of solitude as a basic human right. And also in regards, I suppose, to silence and the right to silence as a basic human right. I put this up because in Norway in particular, allemansrätt is you're able to walk over private land only if it's snowing or icy. Anyway, this is the Temple of Silence. This is in Finland. Sorry, the Chapel of Silence. I find this interesting because even in an urban context where it's considered very busy and away from the nature, the Finns consider it important to be able to create a space for silence and a space for solitude. And it's organised to the point of an architectural and state-funded, and the churches. Although it is a Lutheran, it's very unhierarchical. There's rarely anybody in there. Sorry, this brings me to the artist Nina Backman. She's a Finnish artist, and she moved to Berlin because she thought that Scandinavia was really boring. A lot of Scandinavian artists that I know did the same thing, but over the last decade or so, a lot of artists are reconsidering their position and moving back. She has taken silence as a sort of activist position. She holds silent dinners where they're held in complete silence for up to 2 hours. And she's interested in bringing silence into unexpected and often uncomfortable situations. And psychologically what this can do to people, and I guess in an urban context as well. This is the remnants of a silent dinner, which she records, and if you go through afterwards, you see the remnants, and then the soundtrack of that silence is then played in the gallery. I'm also interested, I guess, in what this means and sort of the consequence of silence. So we've got metal bands per 100,000 people. The Nordic countries have the most. I'm not so much into metal, but what I'm interested in, I guess, is the consequence of silence and its noise. And what does that mean for, I suppose, this idea of peacefulness, but also the Nordic countries actually have that sounds bad, but a smaller low vocabulary than English. A lot of their words are to do with nature, which brought me to this incredible group of men in Finland who are called the Shouting Man's Choir. They walk through the Finnish landscape and shout, basically. They're incredibly disciplined but incredibly anarchic with their approach. Petri Sörviö, the conductor, he comes from the avant-garde movement in the 80s in Scandinavia, and over the years has kind of considered his approach to this and I guess become more talked about or considered in the visual arts realm. They basically shout poems or old sort of fairy tales, political speeches, And in fact, in 2010, they were invited to the Sydney Biennale and they created a work which actually hasn't been shown in its entirety here, which was shouting Kevin Rudd's sorry speech. And I mean, it's completely absurd, but I think that it sort of, it thinks about, I guess, a position of absurdity, but also the discipline around kind of noise and, yeah, sorry. So this is a slide, because I guess I'm interested in thinking about artists that consider sound. This artist, she was in chronic pain for some years, she's a Swedish artist, Lisa Linnart, and this is called 65,299 knots, a pain registry. She, every time she felt an acute sense of pain, she would squash dyed string into this paper and then basically made a score of her pain. And so, although it's a very silent feeling, she created, I mean, for her it was incredibly noisy. And I've left it at this slide because, and the previous, because this again is Nina. We've started a collaboration, Nina Bachmann and I, in the proposition of the potential to bring her and her silent performance and her silence project here, and the silent dinner, and to think about proposing an interdisciplinary exhibition and program around some of these ideas and how it might kind of relate to an Australian or trans-Tasman context. And that's me. Thank you.